What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. If you guys have questions for now, let's use. We can. What do you guys want to use? You want to use the Discord chat? Hey Frank, if there's buffering, just reduce the quality on the stream. It should help. At some point this week, they will be. I'll be coming in and they'll be doing some new internet. So we're switching providers and it should be much better going into next week. What do you guys want? You want to use the Discord chat or do you want to use... Okay. So let's use the YouTube chat for questions then. Discord chat saves in here. I don't know if the chat will be available for rewatch. That's the only thing. And the rewatch doesn't really matter because I'll be reading questions out loud and then answering them, so I don't think it matters too much. Let's see here. Either way, guys, if you want to use the Discord chat, use the Discord chat. If you want to use the YouTube chat, use the YouTube chat. So market's about to open. IGC gapping up big over the resistance from day one on this move. Well, day two. I'm not going to trade anything out the gate. I'm going to let everything kind of settle for about 10 minutes. It'll give me a better idea of what's going on. But for now, we have IGC. Got a squeeze after hour into pre-market this morning. 170, the breakout level over day one. There are going to be tons of shorts trapped here. Tons and tons. So I will be watching it. It is a big gap up. IGC I've got eyes on. AFMD I was buying yesterday in the 420s and I sold for a scratch, unfortunately. It's now over $2 for my entry, which is okay. So this is why I let things settle. I don't want to buy right out the gate. There, you know, it did gap up IGC, but it gapped up on, low volume compared to what it trades during the day. So volume has spoken. I've done 1 million shares already. I will look to possibly dip by this. As you guys have questions, just shoot them out. And just to be clear, we're going to do all the questions on the YouTube chat for now, if you're able to. ARCI is running on volume randomly. It's a low float. Got my attention. Not randomly. It looks like they had some Form 4s yesterday. Let's see. And IGC is trying to perk off that 150 level. Here's our ARCI. I can't tell exactly what's going on here. It's just a low float running. Low floats have not just been running lately. They've been starting to pick up a little bit, so I'm not going to just jump into this move up 60% here in the first 3 minutes of the day. That's a recipe for disaster. I'm not going to chase this. And sorry, if I'm quiet, it's because I'm trading or I'm watching. I'm just letting things develop right now. Give it 5-10 minutes. I may miss this complete move on ARCI. That's fine with me. I'm not ready to get going on low floats until I've seen that they are actually moving. So it's okay if today's day one and we get a bunch of low floats running. That's awesome. That gives me a little bit of conviction going into tomorrow. But for now, I'm not going to chase. I'm definitely not going to chase. Especially something like ARCI. Even though it's done pretty damn good volume. First minute of the day, we may get some float rotation on our ARCI, which is cool. But ARCI, daily chart. Not too much going on. We do have very strong, what I would consider very strong resistance at 175. Another reason I'm not buying this at 150, you know. When I'm looking at a daily chart and I'm looking at levels, dang, AFMD is over 7 now. And excuse me, guys, I'm not feeling 100% today. My whole family's sick, all 3 of my kids and my wife. I haven't got sick yet. Let's hope I don't. That would be great. And you know what? I'm sorry, guys. We're going to switch back over to the Discord chat. We're going to switch to the Discord chat for everything. Excuse me. Duilio, if I keep cutting out, just lower the resolution on the video. Like I said. Sam, this isn't STT. This is Street Smart Edge. And this is just a temporary setup for the webinar. Next week we'll have scans and level 2 and some other stuff. It'll be better. Just temporary, like I said. We're just getting this figured out here. So ARCI I'm not touching for now. I'm glad I didn't chase, which you shouldn't be chasing moves like this in the morning. And this is why I let things shake out. Give it 5 minutes or so. You know, unless you were buying this morning when it was completely illiquid for some reason, there'd be no reason to chase this. IGC holding up well. I am considering adding to a dip at this point on IGC, but we'll see. It's also up just a ton, you know, but you have a multi-day break going on this guy again. And this is one of those moves, man, where shorts are just upside down again, just completely upside down. This resistance at 165 from back in late 2017, which was holding for a couple days, has now been broken, and we're hitting new highs. 52-week highs, 104-week highs. Yeah, I mean, this is a multi-year breakout here. In terms of risk, you would have to kind of risk the breakout level. So if I'm buying this, you know, 165 or so would be my risk. We also have this low here, you know, 150 held, so I'd have to be risking 165, 150. There's not too much in terms of support resistance above this on the daily chart or on the intraday chart at this point. Let's check the 30-minute chart to give you kind of an idea, which I like to do, especially on multi-day runners. You can see this thing's just been setting higher lows. So I'm not going to chase it. If anything, I'm going to wait for a really nice pullback at this point. Matic saying there's resistance at 2 from 2014. Exactly. So, I mean, going way back to 2014. And 2 should act as just kind of a natural resistance. It's a whole number. Whole and half dollar marks tend to act as support and resistance at times, even if there's none there. And AFMD is looking to set a new high a day, and that really just bothers me. It's now $3 from my buy yesterday. And I loved the news. I loved the price action yesterday. It was just the 5-cent spread really messed me up. You know, I hate trading 5-cent spreads. But like I said in chat yesterday, when they do get going, they can be great. You know, it's just not for me so much. So I won't be chasing this today either, up in the 7s. I could see this possibly hitting 10 though, with the kind of volume it's doing. So you have to understand with the 5-cent spread, you're looking at every single, you know, if you're buying on the bid, selling on the buying on the ask, selling on the bid, you've lost 5 cents a share right there. So you got to be careful. Let's check the scans here. So there's a big crack on IGC there. I'm going to see if it can set a higher low possibly and give me some nice defined risk that I can use in the 160, 155 range. But this stuff doesn't make me feel too great about it. But still, if I'm buying 160, 155 at some point, if I have this type of risk, I still have 40 cents reward, you know, if we can get back to the highs. So not 30 cents reward or so, about 5 to 10 cents downside if I'm buying at 165, 160. But this thing's very, very extended still. I mean, I'm going to wait and let this develop. AFMD, I'm not going to chase. ARCI, I'm not going to buy right now. Yeah, I think IGC, I mean, there are tons of shorts who are upside down right now. I think this thing still could have legs. And you know, 150 should hold for all intents and purposes, but we'll see. It doesn't have to. So if I'm buying IGC at all right now, I'm have to be risking low a day basically. So the way that process works, obviously, if I'm trying to take a position here, 170, I don't think this is coming back down, which I'm not sure of yet. I'm gonna let it do its thing. That big stuff candle, that big crack candle, is not great for the stock. This thing's up from 40 cents last week. Okay. You know, so it's up 400% from where it started last week. So everyone wants to trade the open, obviously. It's the most volatile. It is the best time to trade. I mean, time of day, at least in the morning. But, you know, as I've gotten more experience, and as I've seen, you know, thousands and thousands of opens at this point on different tickers, it's led me to not trade the first 5 minutes for the most part, unless I have an exact game plan for a stock. So something like IGC, if I had a game plan, say dip buy a morning panic to $1.50, then I'll buy it in the first couple minutes because I have a plan, you know. If something's just running the first 5 minutes, I'm not buying it. Most likely it's a chase. You know, and you get those first, you know, volume candles early, and then you kind of have to see which direction you think it's going to head. So you either get a spike and you're trying to buy a pullback to get in on that spike at that point, or not. Or you make it a level that'll set up for short selling that you can risk off of. And that's all I need. All I'm trying to define the first 5 minutes of the day is some kind of risk, you know, first 10, 15 minutes. We're now almost 20 minutes into the day. I haven't placed a trade. I don't feel like chasing IGC, even though it is setting up a little higher low here, possibly again. Wouldn't surprise me to see this thing get over 2 today, especially if a $1.50 holds. AFMD, I don't want to chase. The intraday is pretty strong so far. Holding VWAP. What else? Next week, we're also going to be getting into filings quite a bit. Again, any questions, go through Discord. Let's see, which comes first when I do my checklist? Do I check first catalyst news, then the chart? If a stock doesn't have a catalyst, you put it away. First, I check the chart. Chart comes up first, daily. Then we'll check the 1 minute. If it's a multi-day runner like IGC, I'll also check the 30-minute. See if there's not a discernible longer-term trend that I can't pick up on. That's the first thing I do, chart. Then I check the news. Is there news? Which comes down to my scanner. I'll check the news, judge the catalyst. I've already judged kind of the overall markets because it's a running, especially the penny stock market itself is a running, you get a feel every day. And what are these stocks doing? And then the next day, you'll have an idea of what they did the day before or the day before. So for me, when it comes to gauging the penny stock markets and whatnot, it's a running process. Like I have a good feel of what's going on in the markets every single day. And that's just based on experience and being aware of what's going on in the first place rather than just, oh, there's no runners or what's moving, what's not moving. Like it's a continuous process. Have low floats been running for like several days, 2 or 3 days maybe, it gives me conviction hitting a low float. Have biotechs been running this week? Have biotechs been running this month? That kind of thing. Weed stocks. Whatever it is. So in terms of the order, yeah, I pull the chart up, then I'm pulling the news up. If need be, then I'm pulling the filings up. And then if I see what I want to see, then I'm trying to figure out a position. IGC, I already know what's going on, so I don't have to do any other work other than trade the price action and the chart, unless maybe there is more PR that came out. So my process is chart, news, filings if need be, but then I'm also taking into account what time of day it is, what the overall markets are doing, what penny stocks are doing, and that's kind of how I play them, you know. That's kind of the process for me. I do want to see what's going on. If I open up a chart that I just hate, I'm not going to trade it. If I open up a daily that's just the ugliest thing ever and I overhead resistance everywhere, then I'm not going to trade it. If I open up a chart and see a big gap down that we're contending with, then I want to know what's in the gap down. So I go back through the news or go through the filings to find out what caused the gap down. Yeah. So it's not just pull my chart up and trade, you know, it's not just, oh my God, it's spiking, I'm going to buy it. I tend to like to see these things shake out and then find a good level of risk that I can get in on. If you're choosing your stocks correctly, for the most part, and then you're choosing entries correctly, then you should still be able to take some profit, you know. What scanner am I using? I use Equity Feed, and we'll get all into the scans next week. Just to make sure you do use level 2, just know, share it on the screen. Correct. I do use level 2. It's very important, and we'll do a lot of level 2 here. IPAS was halted. It's up 50%. Major U.S. bank signs deal with iPass for global mobile connectivity. This was 6 minutes ago. And let's see, leading provider of global mobile connectivity announced been chosen by major multinational financial services to provide global wireless connection management and Wi-Fi connectivity for its employees. Following successful pilot, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I mean, they're dealing with a big company. They sign a deal. I don't see how much the deal is for here. And according to what I see here, it's a bigger float. I got 82.5 million. So let's pull IPAS up real quick. It was just halted. I don't know. Let's see. Did they do a recent reverse split? They did. Okay, so I'm interested. This is going to be a low float. 1 for 10. Probably like around an 8 million float or something. So it's a little bit bigger than it may look like. I don't know. I've actually, 1 second. Hey Tango, I don't know if you're watching, man, but if you are, give me your take on IPAS. It's another recent reverse split. And a PR. So these are setups that are possible when circumstances are right to go parabolic, IPAS. A lot of the bigger moves happen to be recent reverse splits. And I mean, these stocks need to, a lot of them are trying to regain compliance with NASDAQ. IPAS is one of them. They failed to meet NASDAQ's continued listing requirements, which are, there are several of them. One being obviously stock price has to be over $1, but 2 is shareholder equity has to be over 2.5 million. And that's where a lot of these companies, you know, that's why they need to raise money. They need to raise their shareholder equity. So I'll be watching IPAS after the unhalt. Let's see here. In order to know if a stock has good volume or volatile, you compare historic volume, days, weeks, months, year. For instance, particular stock, average volume 800K. This day has a volume of 600K. That is considered good volume, hence volatile, right? No. Volatility comes down to range in the stock. Can it move? Generally, low floats obviously are going to be more volatile. So when I see a stock like, I don't know, let's see. I mean, let's pick one. Let's see what's moving today. For me, when it comes down to volatility, all I want to see is, if I look on the daily chart, is it a former runner? Has it gone parabolic in the past? You know, has the stock done a 2 to 5 in the past? You know, a 2 to 5 or a 2 to 4, that kind of thing. I want to know that it can have range within the day, which generally comes down to float size. So there are stocks, especially in like with reverse splits like this, where it can be a non-volatile stock that turns volatile. You know, so reverse stock splits are very important. It's very important to know when they occur. Okay. But I will say things do seem to be picking up a bit. Some of these low floats are just starting to pop for no reason, which is good. I like that. Then when the reasons actually come, they'll pop better. Let's see here. So yeah, in terms of volatility, I just want to look at the daily chart, see if it can run or not. And if not, is it a low float? And then can it run? You know, is there news? And in terms of volume, yeah, I want to see it doing above average volume. So if something trades 800K average volume and now it's trading 600K, you know, I mean, unless it's first thing in the morning and then we see sustained volume, then I'm interested. But if a stock trades, say, $50,000, 50,000 in volume a day, and then all of a sudden it's trading $1 million, then that's important to me. Matix, the float is no longer 83 million on IPAS. They did a reverse stock split 5 days ago, 1 for 10. So if that 80 million figure is correct, then the float is now 8 million. Sky Surfer says it says 8 million now, so 1 to 10 reverse. Yes, correct. So the float is 8 million. So it's not a tiny float, okay? It is low float. But what's happening here, the reason it made such a quick move is because news came out, not a lot, it was doing 0 volume, and then you get this surge of buying volume, which is why you don't chase this. You know, the float's 8 million, okay? So there, you know, it's only done, let's see, it's done 255K in volume, 600K in dollar volume. You know, there will be people who are holding this who are just seeing that this is happening now. So I'm very careful here. Very, very careful. I'm not just going to chase this. Like I said, try lowering your resolution if it's a bit choppy this morning. So IPAS, here we go. So let's see here. 1 second. I'm not convinced on IPAS yet. Like I said, float's a little bit bigger. The 8 mil, it's not a tiny low float. This pop here is low volume, so you have to be careful. Anytime anything's low volume, you got to be careful. What are my ranges for low float, super low float, and ultra low float? Ultra low float under 1 million, super low float 1 to 3. Super low float, I'd say like, you know, 1 million. I've never used these terms, but yeah. Low float, anything under 5, basically. I'd say under 10 would be low, actually. Low enough for me to still consider it somewhat of a low float. But really under 5 million, that's when I'm really get interested in the low floats. We've got IGC pressing lows. Let me see here. Let me do some filings. So before I do anything on iPass, I'm going to look at the filings quickly. I should have done it during the halt. And we're going to look at them together. So here is IPAS. This is OTC Markets. I just click the ticker, IPAS. I'm going to disclosures. They got a 10Q here. They got an 8K. Let's see what's in this 8K. 8Ks are just material information releases. This is just talking about their reverse stock split. 10Q. So this is a quarterly earnings report. This is, you know, generally where I find most of my information when I'm going through filings. So total stockholders' equity, they do have the deficit of 2.2 million. They're going to need so I mean essentially they're going to need, you know, about 5 million to regain compliance with NASDAQ. Let's look for warrants. Control F. This is all I'm doing. Control F warrants. This is my kind of just quick way to go through it. And 43 results, then start going through them. June 14th, entered into security agreement, credit effective rate, blah, 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 warrants, okay. All I'm looking for are warrants and prices. Credit agreement. I'm looking for offerings, essentially. Warrants, warrants, warrants. Let's see here. Yeah, so it looks like there are a bunch of warrants. 2.784 common stock warrants at an exercise price of 30 cents with a 7-year life. Yeah, so I don't see too much here. There are those 30-cent warrants, but they could have been, exercising those all, for a while. I don't see, they don't have a, let's see if they have an updated share count. So weighted average shares outstanding basic and diluted 74.2. This time in 2017, it was 65.6. So there has been some dilution going on. I'd imagine it's from the warrants. All right. Well, not too much I took out of that. That's too much of a cause for concern, actually. Other than that, they do need money. So any warrants outstanding, they may, be tempted to exercise and get paid on them. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna let this shake out. I don't, I'm not convinced yet. If low floats are running, this might be something I would be looking to buy a dip on, and it still may hold. I'm gonna after you get a halt like that, I'm gonna let this settle. That being said, it's a bigger float. I'm not 100% comfortable there. Yeah, nothing for me on IPAS. They need money. They need to do an offering. They need to get their shareholder requirement up, the minimum equity, and yeah. So I'm going to leave this alone. Not touching IPAS. Someone said even with warrants, they can't dump the same day, can they? Yeah, they can do whatever they want with them. If they have warrants, they can exercise them immediately. If there are warrants at 30 cents, they've been able to exercise them this whole time. And then it's a matter of dumping. So, big crack on AFMD. I leave IPAS alone. It could still pop. I won't be there for it. It's okay. And that's what keeps me safe. Whenever you're looking at indicators of any sorts and something is not right, that reduces your odds of being correct on the trade and reduces your edge. So for me, even, when I see things I don't like, for the most part, I stay away from the stock. Let's check out SPHS. This is something I've traded in the past, years ago. Maybe last year it was. Here's the daily. Got resistance here. Pretty strong resistance. So just to let you guys know, those of you who don't know, you should know, days of big volume hold more weight. So when I'm looking at levels of support and resistance on a daily chart, I'm looking at volume. Okay? Is there a lot of volume? If so, I weight that more. So these 2 days, particularly this one here now at this point, since this is the only resistance remaining that I see that's important, we had a high of 336. Today, today's high is 340. So it's still that, this level more or less is holding. After that, we're looking into the high 3s and 4 even. After 4, we got to go back to when I was trading it, which was mid-2017, June, July, August. And it ran to 8 then. So 4 is quite important. That being said, float was much lower at this time, I remember. And they've, this is a biotech. And I think they have one drug in their pipeline. And whenever you got a biotech, they're in phase 2B right now. But you have to be wary of offerings because all these little biotechs with one drug in their pipeline do need money. So if you happen to nail a biotech, that's a low float and it's moving, take profits. You don't want to be swinging too long. Many times it's a matter of time before an offering comes on these small biotech companies, especially if they can run. In this case, it's a phase 2B update on their prostate cancer trial, which I think it's Topsolin's their drug. Let me see. Let me open the press release really quick. First in class, blah, 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 urological disease. Phase 2B trial for the treatment of localized prostate cancer. Reported death of a patient in the 2B trial, unlikely to be related either to Topsolin or the Topsalicin or the procedure. The regulatory blah, 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 blah. Following a comprehensive review, together with hospital records, negative, so, okay, blah, blah, blah. So there was a death. I bet you the death was right here. I would probably say that's what caused this gap down was a death. And now they're saying it's not from there, as far as they know, it's not from Topsalicin. Which is a good thing. It's always a good thing. If these guys were trading it in the high 3s and then there was a death, I'm pretty sure this is what happened. Let's go back real quick just to be sure. And this gap down day, 625, 626, 627. Yeah, so they reported their top line safety and biopsy findings for the phase 2 trial on June 25th. That's what dropped to this thing. Extremely saddened by the death of a patient after receiving a second administration of Topsalicin. Understanding the cause of the patient's death is first priority. So that is what dropped to this stock. The fact that they're saying that the death was not related to their drug is a very good thing. That being said, upside at this point, if it gets back to where it was, is not great. So this is something that I'll probably ignore. I have seen this in the past. AUPH was one. AUPH, one of my favorite stocks back in the day. This is a stock that helped grow my account in a major way back on this run to 10. But one of these gap downs, I believe it was this gap down here, was because of a death as well. And the news here was that the death was not related, and it moved the stock back up to 5. So, kind of max for me on SPHS is high 3s. I don't really necessarily see it going beyond that for now. So it's something I'm going to leave alone. But you guys can kind of see the process. The daily chart tells you the story. The daily chart really tells you the story. Anytime you see something whack on a daily chart, you see some major gap down, whatever it is, you have to dig. Don't just start trading. See what else is there. See what the overall picture is. What's the overall picture here in this move? Well, it was doing well. They announced that someone died. It cut the stock in half. It looks to me there are some Form 4s on the filings as well. There were some Form 4s as well here, so it looks to me like they announced the death and then there are investors that use this as an opportunity to buy a shit ton of shares. Since a reverse split is bullish because less shares. Not necessarily. Generally, you know, having to do a reverse split is not necessarily a great thing. And it's kind of a last resort for a lot of these companies that have to get their minimum shareholder equity up and get their price over $1. It's a simple process. Get the price over $1, do a reverse split. That's how they accomplish that. Then use either existing warrants or at the market offerings or have to do a new offering and raise the cash. Now, the reverse split itself, yes, it does lower the float. So when they do release a PR, it's able to pop more. Then they get their price up. They're able to get an offering at a better price. So reverse splits are not in and of themselves bullish by any means. It just means that the float is lower. It can move faster. That's it. I'm not saying it's a reverse split. I'm going to buy it. You know, you got to be careful. That being said, IPS is doing good volume now. It's done 1.8 mil in volume. But like I said, it's just not something I'm going to touch. Particularly because, I mean, they did a 1-for-10 reverse split, but the float's still 8 million, you know? So it's still a decent sized float. It's not a low float. Yeah, AFMD we got to crack on. We can do some quick trade reviews because I did trade this yesterday. I was buying this yesterday. I was buying this yesterday here in the 425s. I got scared out by this drop below VWAP towards 4. And the only reason for that is because I wasn't quite sure where to risk off of. And the 5-cent spread made me a little bit uncomfortable. The stock was up quite a bit. It had gapped up a lot. And I just got shaken out. I shouldn't have. But my plan, I didn't have a great plan for this trade. And I paid the price because of that. You know, I didn't have a very defined risk that I wanted to work off of. So I kind of just took the trade off. And then I was working on my DVD midday, so I actually missed this move and didn't want to chase it. This would have been an awesome overnight. You know, it would have been an awesome overnight. I know some people did take it overnight. I just wasn't looking to. But a stock like this that gaps up huge, finishes near its highs with a great catalyst, you know, a potential huge income for the company, along with upfront payments and whatnot, it's a good deal, you know? It's good. I'm hoping biotechs get going. I love biotechs when they move. So I mean, man, the current climate with penny stocks, you got to be really careful chasing, really careful now. We have several big short sell rooms now. Before short sellers performed more solo, but now you have people like Duck shorting and announcing trades. So he's going to have his sheep also shorting, just like anyone else, just like anything. So you got to be careful. These moves are going to get crushed. I think we're going to see a lot more volatility up and down. A lot of the moves getting murdered, but then, you know, actually popping when all these shorts together are covering. It's kind of crazy. Kind of a crazy environment. But I like it. I think it's good. But you do have to be careful. You know, once the low floats get going, you'll see me trade momentum a lot more. And I think they're kind of starting to, which I've been saying for a while. But we'll see what happens here. With SPH slowly grinding up, would I buy the breakout past 340? No. I don't buy high day breaks. I hate buying high day breaks. I did this yesterday on ATAI, okay? High day breaks are very much a rookie strategy. I'll leave that to like Ross Cameron at Warrior Trader. That's pretty much his only strategy, is buy high day breaks. High day breaks can easily get stuffed, A. B, they can easily get very choppy, and you can get a high day break, a pullback, and then an actual rip. So I don't buy high day breaks, no. I hate buying high day breaks. There are times where I'll do it if there's some good consolidation below, but most of the time not. Here's ATA. Let's go to my trade on ATAI yesterday, and you can see the stock was topping at 290, then was kind of pushing 3. I actually bought the high day break at 290, which I hate doing. I like buying down here and risking down here. I like buying the pullback. When you get a spike, I like getting in on the pullback, particularly the first pullback. Okay, I bought this yesterday in like the 280s on the high day break. And, you know, I only grabbed a couple shares because I knew what I was buying a high day break. But especially when you get a high day break at 290 and you got an overhead resistance level at 3, most likely it's going to pull at 3 too, which I didn't take into account. And then I stopped myself out here. So, and then it ripped to 330. So I was correct, but my entry was not correct. Okay. So my thesis was correct. Entry's not correct. So it doesn't matter if my thesis was correct because my entry wasn't, which is why your entry is so important. You know, that's what's going to keep you in trades longer, or, you know, you're going to get shaken out with the rest of the noobs and then it's going to rip. So I hate buying high day breaks. I really, really hate it. Particularly if you get a straight up spike through a high day break and it goes parabolic through the high day. That really bothers me. SPHS multi-day. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. High day break is not a good strategy. It's a risky strategy, and it's one that's going to more often than not lead you to either be down quickly on a position or to end up getting shaken out. That was my main strategy when I started. I was looking at stocks on my list and trying to buy high day breaks, and it just doesn't work. Sometimes it works. Most times for me, I'm not comfortable there. You know, I'm comfortable down in the 320s if this is the chart I'm playing, not buying here at 340. Much better to buy pullbacks. Always buy weakness for the most part. I like buying weakness. So the pull, when it's weak, when you have some people finally taking profits and short sellers coming in, I like to buy that weakness. And if the shorts get their way or whatever, or they don't and they have to cover, then I'm already in with that. You know, I like to buy the weakness. Chasing spikes is a one-way ticket to not blowing your account up, but to, you know, losing all your money eventually. What is my criteria to go overnight? What is a good candidate? Okay, catalyst, very important for me for overnight holds for the most part. Okay, unless I see something in the price action that tells me otherwise, that it doesn't need a catalyst at times. But for the most part, catalyst is important. Filings are important. Do they need money? Are they going to do an overnight offering that you're going to get stuck in, which has happened to me in the past and it sucks. Intraday chart, is it closing near its highs or lows? I want to see, for the most part, a stock closing near its highs. Is there room to run into the next day, or is there some serious overhead resistance? You know, all those types of things are very important to me. But I keep it very simple for overnight holds, especially like when I was under PDT. You know, it was really a matter of a stock closing near its highs with a good catalyst. You know, when I started, as I've gotten more experience, you know, more things do come into play. Are overnight holds working? How well are they working? Generally now, the way I trade, if I'm overnight, it's because I have a great position from earlier in the day, or because a chart sets up awesome in the afternoon. So, you know, I'm not looking to take anything overnight first thing in the morning. I don't make a decision on overnights till the end of the day, you know? So when I'm looking for overnights, I'm not looking to take a position till the last hour of the day, for the most part. Do I plan my entries So I open the order if it reaches my desired price. Yeah, of course you plan your entries. You have to plan your entries. I see what you're saying. I think you mean, am I preemptively placing orders? No. For the most part, I am not. Unless there is something very exact that I'm trying to do, I am not just throwing orders out. There are times, say it's a low float and it's moving, where I will throw orders out 10, 15 cents above, the nearest offer, just so I can get filled where I want to get filled. So, okay, so someone's saying SPHS slowly grinding up, also multi-month breakout. Yeah, and that occurred already. I mean, at this point, upside is not great. I don't see great upside here for now, unless things change. Good question. Twilio asked, when I choose big percent winners, usually there are 7 to 10 tickers, and from those there are about 3 to 5 that could be potentially a good trade. Because I'm back and forth looking through the 5 charts, I end up choosing the wrong stock. What should I take more into consideration the first 10 to 15 minutes? Besides volume and catalyst from one stock to the other, so I can be watching only 1 or 2, therefore I'm not late. So what I do is, same process. I have my percent gainers list. In terms of picking the best one, a lot of times it comes down to catalyst, float size, and chart. So in order to pick the correct one that's going to move, you have to pick the correct chart, float size, catalyst. So I mean, and volume, correct. So it's not an exact science, and there are plenty of times where I'm not picking the biggest runner on the day, which is perfectly fine. If there are several runners and you're getting a piece of anything, you're doing well. Don't be pissed if you miss the biggest runner. It happens all the time. I miss biggest runners all the time. I didn't play AWX once. That was the biggest runner this year, pretty much. So, am I bothered by it? No. In the grand scheme of things, that thing's done. And I'm moving on to the next. So for me, it sucks, obviously, not picking the biggest winner on the day. But it's not a big deal. But I see what you're saying. When it comes down to what's going to move, the float size is just so important. So float's very important. If you're trading big floats, you're not going to catch the biggest winners because most of the time the biggest winners are smaller floats, period. That's just how it works. What would be the main thing that I would be looking at on IGC now at the current chart? I mean, basically exactly what it did, which is hold 160, 150. That's it. So I'm going to let this set up even more. It's still struggling with VWAP. I think shorts are still trapped. You got to look at the chart and say who's underwater, who's above water. Right now, in this chart, in this entire move, multi-week move at this point, The only shorts who are green as of right now, we're shorting it above 173, 174. The only shorts who are green right now are anyone who shorted the open and anyone who is short pre-market, which at times can be enough to stifle moves. You know, it's setting up levels and, you know, lower low, lower highs. But you got to look at the grand scheme of things, which it's setting higher lows. This is the 30-minute chart. Clearly, higher low, higher low, higher low, another higher low this morning. You know, and it's still holding above all of yesterday's action. So this is not something that I'm necessarily buying right now. You know, it can't get above VWAP for now. If I were to take a stab at this, I would be risking $1.50, essentially. So say I wanted to take a position here, which I don't necessarily want to do. The thing is overextended. I could see this, you know, going parabolic again. It does have a bit of a bigger float, which is the reason that it's here. If this were a much lower float, this would probably be like $5 or $10 by now with the kind of action it's had. So 160, 150 would be my risk, somewhere around, you know, in this range. If I were to be taking a position right now, which I'm not. With a volume of 5 million, 10 million, 15, I've been seeing stocks barely spike or not spike at all. Is there a reason? I don't know. It depends. The float can be big. That can be a reason it's not going to move. Float can be really big. Say it's got 100 million float and it only trades 5 million shares. It's 5% of the float. It's a very small fraction of the float. Could be the float. Could be not the proper catalyst. Could be warrants. Could be an at-the-market offering where literally they're just dumping shares into the market. People are buying it. It's not going to move. If a stock's not moving, it's because the demand's not great enough. It's such a simple, you know, concept. It's supply and demand. That's what moves every stock. If a stock's not moving, it's because the supply is too great to overcome. The demand is not enough to overcome supply. One of the basic, you know, principles here. What would be the main thing I'm looking at on IGC? We said that, okay. Confused about float and volume. Take an example, PTIE. This is a question, by the way. From 8/15/18, shares outstanding 7.1, float 5.34. How can it have a volume of 18 million? How can we know when the company will be close to the fight and running out of supply in order to be sure the price will go up? Volume of 18. It's called float rotation. And it's an important, you know, it's very important. Float rotation is important. If there's, you know, if there's 1 million shares available and it does 1 million volume, the float has rotated once, meaning changing hands. So, yeah, so I mean, just because it does that, say a stock has 5 million float and then does 18 million volume, it doesn't necessarily, there doesn't have to be 18 million shares available to trade. They just change hands, that's it. If a price hits my mental stop, am I cutting right away or do I give it some time to test? Depends. Yeah, am I judging off price action? Yes, it all depends, man. I have big size, I have risk in a low float. I'm very, very quick to either downsize or take it off because I know, say, there's a level setting up on a chart and it's say this is a 1 million share float and there's a, you know, a very serious level of support that I'm basing risk off of. Well, I know I'm not going to be the only one risking that level. There are going to be a lot of traders risking that level, and if it breaks, it may snap quick, okay? And it may never recover. So it does depend on price action. It depends on strength of the resistance. If I'm just basing my resistance on some arbitrary intraday level, then I'm very careful with it. I respect it. You know, I'm not necessarily thinking it's going to hold. If it's multi-day support that's really strong, then and I have more conviction, I may, you know, let it test a little bit. If the float's bigger, I may let it test a little bit because I know it's not going to just be a huge snap for the most part. So in terms of respecting risk, I am very strict with it, but you know, every trade's different. All the circumstances, every circumstance is different. How much size do I have? Am I up on the trade? Am I down on the trade? You know, that type of thing. Am I up in the trade and I've moved my risk up and I'm able to let it, you know, work a little bit longer? Okay. That's one scenario. I may be a little more flexible with my, you know, with moving my risks around. Like I said, if it's a really super volatile low float, I'm going to be very careful and I may take a position off early, which I do all the time. If I get like the heebies in a trade and something doesn't feel right, I take it off. It's really simple. That's how I protect myself. If a stock's not following my plan, then I cut it. I protect myself, you know? And I don't do it all the time. I'm not perfect, but as a rule of thumb, that's what I do, and it keeps me safe every day. It keeps me from being a bag holder, which has honestly happened to me about 5 times total in my career, which I think is an awesome stat. Is the 15 or 30-minute chart how I judge major or minor support? Yes. That, the daily chart, the 1-minute chart and 5-minute chart, you'll see it too. But I really enjoy the 30-minute chart. It really lets me kind of see levels that set up a lot better. You're seeing more price action in each candle, you know. So when a stock's done a multi-day move, yeah, I go on the 15 and 30-minute charts. But you do have to look at all time frames and understand a lot of people trading the 5-minute, 1-minute, 15-minute, especially day traders in particular. And on the micro scale, day traders we are the ones moving these penny stocks for the most part. So it looks like the weed sector is bouncing a bit. CVSI back down at that 3 support. Crazy, you know? And this thing just totally overextended itself. That's all. And got an awesome pull. This is sweet volatility for this stock. I'll be watching it for a bounce here soon. You know, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red days now. I'm going to buy a first green day on this stock for sure. Most likely, that is. But I'm going to let it do its thing. It might not be done. Tons of people trapped now. For a multi-day runner, how do you know if the trend was still intact? Is it making higher lows? It's that simple. At times there will be a nice trend line that you can use. I don't see a perfect trend line on IGC. Maybe if we do a, let's see, let's go to the 15-minute and see what happens. So like something like IGC, I mean, I'm looking at basically this. This is the line I'm watching. You know, so if this could pull back to like $1.40 or something, I still consider it intact. For the most part, you know, it's not an exact science. It really isn't. It's just trying to get a grip on the move. Are you on the front or back side of the move, especially, is what's important to me. And I see nothing here yet that's like a huge red flag in terms of like the long-term picture. But it's up a lot over a lot of days. And that's not to say this thing couldn't keep going. You know, we have no resistance here really except for $2. You have to go way back. What makes me think it's possible to trade chart multiple times over multiple days? So for the most part, I'm trying not to trade too many times on the same ticker. And the more days it's up, the less likely I am to trade it. Okay? Pretty much once you get into day 2 or day 3, is it red? You know, the first red day is so important. The first day it finishes below the previous day's close is very important for the most part. But then how does it finish that day? Down by its lows, or is it just kind of mid-range? Did it stop at support somewhere? You know, it all depends. Something like this today, this looked like it was done, okay, yesterday. This looked like, okay, it should pull, at least to $1. The fact that it gapped up this morning obviously makes me really bullish on it, just because, I mean, all the price action here, everyone's still green. It's still, anyone long is still sitting pretty for the most part. You know, anyone long at this point is only down 20 cents a share off the day's high, not including pre-market, which it was doing good volume, but it wasn't massive volume. You know, it was less than 1 million shares this, you know, during this move during pre-market here. So SPRWF, someone's asking about it. Not something I've watched or have gauged any of the price action. I can't really tell you. I know the weed sector is doing well still. You know, it's still holding up. It may have just been a pullback. But I won't chase this. Hell no. When I'm looking to buy like sector momentum, especially with weed stocks that have already extended themselves a bit, I'm only buying pools. So yesterday looks like it may have been the last couple days may have been a decent buying opportunity. Tim buy a CVSI? I don't see it. Got another question on SPHS at risking 320. Tim did buy it earlier. Huh. SPHS, it's just not really for me, man. It's just like one of those things where yeah, it's just not from, I don't see the upside here. You know, I just don't see it. I mean, it may try to fill this gap and get up to like 370 or something like that, which is fine. You can still make some decent profits there if it were to get to like $4. It's 70 cents upside. With 7 cents downside if you're risking 320, but I don't know if that's going to hold. And I don't see 320 as like a major level here. I mean, it is the breakout level, but it's just yeah, I could see this filling in the gap. I mean, generally when you have that bad news and it gaps down, you'll get a gap fill when if the news is reversed. It only makes sense. You know, the stock was trading at $4. This is all news related stuff. So yeah, for me, it's not something I'm going to really play. I don't see tremendous upside here. It's got, you know, a 30 million float or so. And this is a great example of what, and there is some volatility here. I mean, the thing can move. This was volatile, obviously, because it was a huge gap down and did huge volume for this stock. But back when it was running towards $10, this was a low float. You know, they've just diluted so much because they need, you know, this was mid 2017. It's been, you know, almost a year, or it's been over a year and a half, whatever it is, sorry. And, you know, they've had time to dilute and raise money, which they needed to do. Yeah, Tim bought CVSI earlier, which, I mean, I don't blame him, but for me, this is a, you know, first green day kind of thing that I'm waiting for. It doesn't have to hold. All sorts of levels have now been broken. I do think it's due for a bounce here soon, though. And again, guys, like, man, this is just my, you know, interpretation, and it works really well for me. My process works really well for me. And it's so more than just like the stocks themselves. Like, yeah, I'll answer questions on stocks, but it's the process. You know, it is the process that is the most important thing. Whether you're a short seller or long or whatever you do, or you trade options or whatever, you know, it all comes down to process, and is your process sound or not? And that's what I'm trying to convey to you guys, is the process. So all, you know, throughout our time together, you'll see I'm wrong a lot. You know, there's no one who's right all the time. There's no one who's right 90% of the time when it comes to this game. Professional traders, you know, take like investment traders and hedge fund traders, are oftentimes right 50% of the time, 60% of the time. The reason that good traders, professional traders, make money is because their risk-reward ratios are correct, okay? So they may be right 10, you know, they may be wrong 10 times, and they're 2 or 3 gains, you know, and then they're right 2 or 3 times, and it wipes those out, and they're profitable. So it's not about being right. So, and that's so important. And, you know, once you realize that, that'll keep you from holding losses, especially. You know, once you understand it's not about right or wrong, it's about profitable or not, and it's about risk reward. That's when you know, that's a big step to take, in my opinion, especially psychologically. Once you can get the whole being right thing out of your head, you're much more objective. I don't give a shit if I'm right, you know? I like being right, of course. Everyone likes being right. But it's not about right or wrong. It's not. It's about what do I do when I'm right and what do I do when I'm wrong. And can I be objective enough, get the bias out of my head enough, sorry. Yeah, it's, you know, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about, can I be objective and unbiased enough to gauge price action correctly? Objectively, without emotion. Would I say it's easier to have better risk reward and actually make decent money with a bigger account? Yes, okay. It is easier with a bigger account at times, but if you don't know what you're doing, it means nothing. You'll just lose that money anyways. You're just going to lose more money because you have more money to lose. You know what I mean? Yeah, in terms of, here's how I see it, and here's how my trading's evolved in terms of going from a small account to a larger account. In order to extend gains with a smaller account, you have to take a bigger percentage move, okay? For me to make $1,000 on my 10,000 shares and for you to make $1,000 on your 1,000 shares is a huge difference. For me to make $1,000 on my 10,000 shares, the stock has to move 10 cents, okay? That being said, obviously if it goes down 10 cents, I'm down $1,000 bucks. So it's not that simple, you know. Theoretically, in terms of percentage gains on your account, you should be able to trade them the same. It's just a fact that I'm able to make more money off less shares. So for you to take your 1,000 shares and make $1,000 bucks, you got to get a point. For me, it's 10 cents. So it's, you know, if a stock goes from 1 to $1.10, I have 10,000 shares. It's 10% gain. I've made $1,000. For someone buying 1,000 shares of a $1 stock, they have to get 100% move, which I'm telling you, I rarely get. I have had them. I rarely. It's a very small handful of trades where I've taken 100% of the move. So yeah, I mean there's a divide there, but you can't be trading 10,000 shares profitably if you can't trade your 1,000 shares profitably. So that's why the game is small gains, man. Small gains, small gains, small gains. Be safe until you have the process nailed down for yourself. You'll know when it's time to start sizing up because your account is going to grow. If you're able to grow an account from like 3 to 5K up to 10K, up to 20K, okay, then you're doing something right and you'll be able to size up appropriately in the future. You know, it's a process. You don't just go from buying 500 shares of a stock in a $5,000 account to a 100K account overnight and then you're taking big size. You'll see what would happen if you did that is that you would get all emotionally jacked up and lose big money. That's my opinion for the most part, okay? So it's a long process, man. You gotta grow the account slowly. And if you can grow an account from 5K, get over PDT, then you can grow your account from 25 to 100. Okay? That's my opinion. I think it's very, you know, your growth should become exponential as well. Your account should grow exponentially as well, but only if you're doing the right things. If not, you're going to stay break even or you're going to lose like everyone else. You know, we've got 30-something people in this webinar right now, and statistically speaking, most of you aren't going to make it. That's just a fact, and there's nothing I can do to change that. I'm going to do my damn best to try to help you guys. Obviously, it's completely up to you. But I'm going to do my best to give you what tidbits help me. Everything. I'm not holding anything back in terms of strategies, in terms of my process, in terms of how I feel about, you know, all the intangibles of trading, which can be much more important than setups. Setups are so easy. Google it. You know what I mean? Google's long setups. Buy a pullback, you know, cup and handle, whatever your setups are. For me, it's not so much setups, it's more risk reward, okay? So can you have a bad trade with good risk reward? Yes. You know, you could be buying midday random consolidation, be risking 5 cents and lose over and over and over again. So the setup, while it's important, time of day is important, everything's important. It's more, you know, as long as you have more scope of what you're doing, you know, as long as there's some depth to your process and you're not just chasing stocks around, you're in a better position than most people already. Okay. So it's really nailing down, and a lot of it comes down to experience, man. Like a lot of it comes down to understanding what happens down here. And what happens down here is we're trading the shittiest fucking stocks in the world. They just are. That's why they're trading down here. They all need cash. They're all struggling to survive for the most part. If you're trading a one-drug biotech, they have, you know, if something like a death happens, you're looking at a, you know, 50% gap down overnight, like what happened on the SPHS if you're holding overnight. So it's a really dangerous area, and you have to try to take the danger out the best that you can, which means eliminating most plays. Okay? And even if you're wrong and they rip, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just move on to the next one, you know? And keep doing that. Just keep moving on to the next trade. Then we spend time analyzing our past trades to find flaws in our process, and our risk-reward ratios maybe, in your time of day, what time of day you've been trading. You'll be able to discern patterns from trade tracking once you've traded enough. If you're just start trading, you do have to trade. You know, you need to get screen time, you need to get experience trading all different kinds of sectors and floats, chart patterns, short, long. You got to really get out there. That being said, you find one strategy that you're better at, freaking stick to it, man. You find one pattern that you really like and you're comfortable with it, exploit it for all you can while it's there, because that pattern may not be there forever. Okay? And things change on a, you know, day-to-day basis at times, week-to-week basis. And like I said, you know, the group that I've been working with prior to you guys, I have several traders in there who are doing, you know, who are doing pretty well for themselves, and that's what they did. I have a couple traders who, you know, found a little niche in with the weed stocks, with the OTC market breakouts, and grew their accounts, you know, in the span of a couple months because they found something that worked. They weren't just trading everything. They found something that worked and stuck to it. So yeah, I mean, maybe one of my setups is going to work for you guys and you're going to be able to use that over and over again for a while. Maybe not. But the cool thing is if you exploit the patterns while they're there, when they disappear, yeah, you'll have to change strategies at times. But it's cyclical, and they'll return. And when that pattern is back in play, you're going to know how to play it. That's why I was still able to make some money, you know, during this shitty market over the last couple months, because I had other patterns that I was playing that I've played in the past successfully. So it's a matter of knowing that, you know, and finding your patterns. And then exploiting them when they're there. And that's the whole game. When sector momentum's there, you got to take advantage of it, long and short. When low floats are running, you got to take advantage of it, long and short. You know, short sellers dog on low floats when they run, but that is the absolute best thing for a short seller, period, in my opinion. You don't get the kind of, you know, if you don't get exponential moves up, you don't get exponential moves down. You don't get parabolic moves up, you don't get parabolic moves down. So we all feed off each other, you know? It's one of those things. So when I say people bitching about like chat pumps and especially short sellers, oh, chat pumps, whatever, man. It's a necessarily evil. You know, chat pumps are also what allow people like me to make more money than I would otherwise. You know, I'm selling into chat pumps. You know, if things are working well, or a chat pump gets to create a, you know, some kind of monster move first thing in the morning. You get a 1 million share float, you get one chat or two chats, and there's so many now who are buying the same stock, it's going to create movement. And you have to be aware of that. All right, back to questions. I'm watching IGC. You know, I still think this has legs. I do. And I could be wrong. I don't see this as necessarily death and destruction, like it's over. Hell, we're 18 cents off, it's 17 cents off of its day high today. And its day high is another 10 cents below the pre-market high. So shorts are still upside down for the most part on this chart. That being said, when am I looking to take a position? I don't know. This is something that I would possibly be looking at here, risking $1.60, $1.55. So I mean, we are setting higher lows. This downward trend has now been broken for the most part, and by downward trend I mean this kind of boom, boom. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 tries or so. So at this point, yeah, I'm thinking about IGC. I am thinking about it. But if I'm to take a position here and it gets stuffed at the pre-market high at $2, okay, that leaves me 25 cents upside. If I'm cutting at $1.50, that leaves me 25 cents downside. Risk reward for me here is 1 to 1. Okay, if I'm risking $1.50, which I wouldn't. For me, I'm probably $1.65. Something like that. $1.65 cracks, I don't really feel great about it. But like I said, it's a bigger float. It's consolidating right now. It's kind of just grinding. I'm not 100% sure. We got about 30 minutes left before I won't really take a trade after the next 30 minutes. 11:30. 11:30. It's 30 minutes before lunch. People are going to be going to lunch. I don't want to be caught in some random lunchtime sell-off type thing and then get spooked out of the trade. So this is something I'm watching. It's back over VWAP, which I do like. How many trades per week do I average in this market conditions? I've taken 5 trades this week, which is why I'm chilling out this morning. I've taken more trades this week than I took all of last week combined. I've been averaging 3 to 5 trades a week for the last several months. There have been weeks where I've taken 1 or no trades, put it that way. So IGC is perking here. It's perking well. At this point, I am contemplating buying a pullback. Just not sure. I don't feel great about it. I do think this still has legs. I hate buying stocks that are overextended. Granted, this thing has reset itself a couple times. I think there's room to run still, I won't chase this though, okay? Like, I won't just buy this because it's perking right now. Even though it's only a couple cent chase. So my buy signal already came when we were getting over this VWAP here, and with these higher lows, these 3 lows right here. But I'm definitely not chasing here. I'm definitely not buying in anticipation of a high daybreak in the 180s. If this goes through 190, so be it. I won't chase it. If you're buying in anticipation of a high daybreak, it's even worse than buying a high daybreak, in my opinion. You may just be buying a double top or a higher or lower low, lower high. Sorry. At this point, my entry here will be 170-ish. But even then, yeah, I mean, I don't feel great about it. About that entry either. But anything to minimize my risk. If I'm risking a $1.60, $1.65, I want to try to get as close to it as possible. Now, I don't mind doing something like taking a small piece here because I like to size in and out, which a lot of you can't do. But I do like to do it. And it is one of the luxuries, and it is an extra tool that you have with a bigger account, is the ability to size in and out. You just have to be careful not to get into the average down game, which is not a great plan. You know, averaging down just because you're down on a position is one of the worst things that you can do. Averaging down with purpose so that maybe if I want to get in, I think it's not going to get back down. At least if I take 2,000 shares, say at a $1.75, and then it rips, I have some skin in the game. But if it gets down towards my risk level, then I can really add my size on and have 10,000 shares with $500 or $1,000 risk. That is much better to me. That is a plan. You know, I have a risk level. I'm going to size in based on that risk level and how much I want to risk on the trade, which comes down to how much do I want to risk? Well, how strong is the setup, you know? And that's when I get into all the other variables of the trade. So size itself is also something that needs to be tinkered with. It's not something that you just have stock size. You buy 1,000 shares of everything, which I've had, you know, a couple of guys I've worked with in the past who do that and then end up just break even or bleeding out money. A++ setup, max size for me, you know? Middle of the road setup, just middle of the road size. And that's how I size. My size is based on quality of setup, quality of market conditions, quality of the move, how far I am from my risk. That's all that, you know, that's what comes into play there. If I get stuck in consolidation but price doesn't hit my stop, am I just cutting or holding through it? Good question. I'm holding through it for the most part. Unless there's something I really don't like in that consolidation. You know, consolidation is healthy. Consolidation is normal. Pullbacks are healthy. Pullbacks are normal. Parabolic spikes are not healthy. They are not healthy. They're not normal. So when I see parabolic action and I'm in it, I take profits. So yeah, consolidation is perfectly normal. I don't mind consolidation. I don't mind sitting through consolidation if I need to. I guess there's more to it though. I mean, if it, you know, where is it consolidating? Is it mid-range consolidation or is it consolidating right near its lows? Then, you know, I may get a little sketched out and want to take it off a little bit early in case that consolidation breaks down and cracks down, then you may get a bigger crack. The longer it consolidates, the longer people are going to use that level as support and risk, both long and short. So I don't mind sitting through consolidation. But obviously if I'm long, I'd much rather have it consolidating near its highs. If a stock's consolidating near its lows, it's the opposite. You do have to be wary of that. Ideal volume for, let's say, 20 cents, $1, $5 stock. Would you give us an example we should take into consideration? Yeah, for me, it's dollar volume. Okay? So, I mean, sorry, 1 second. It comes down to dollar volume, not just like what's the ideal volume. So say a stock's trading at a penny, okay? And it does $1 million in volume. That is $10,000 in dollar volume, okay? That could be one person easily. That could be two people. So it's relative to the stock price. Million shares of a $5 stock is $5 million in dollar volume. That's good liquidity for me. And then the question is it above? It's not. There's no one set ideal volume. Is it trading more volume in terms of what its average volume is? You know, does the stock usually trade a 500,000 in volume, and today it's doing 10 million in volume? That's super important to me. Okay, does a stock do 500,000 in volume, but the first, you know, on average for the day, and the first 30 minutes of the day it's traded 5 million? That's important to me. So that's why I place most of my emphasis on dollar volume. I want to see, is there actual money going through this stock that I can get in and out of? You know, if a stock, say it's a penny stock, 1 cent, okay, and it's done 50 million in volume. Say it's done 5 million in volume. I'm sorry. What's up, dude? Oh, no worries. So say it's say it's a penny stock that's done 5 million in volume, okay? Then we've done $50,000 volume. And say I want to take a $10,000 position. Well, then I am 1/5 of that volume. That's not okay. When it comes down to volume, I'm using it to see, is there interest? Is it trading more than normal? Can I get in and out of it easily? That's it. That's what's important. And then obviously, what's the volume in comparison to the float as well? So. Do I take daily percent gain retention into buying a stock? Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, if I'm looking for overnight, I want it closing by its highs. So, you know, I want to see it hold its gains. I want stocks to hold their gains. If they can't hold their gains, especially on the daily chart, I'm not looking to take overnight positions. Say there's a stock that has range. Say there's a stock that is volatile, but every single spike on the daily chart is followed by a red day the next day. You better believe I'm not taking it overnight unless there's a serious catalyst there for that. If that's the case, I'm not saying I'm not going to play it day one, but I'm telling you I'm going to be out day one, okay? When I do my checklist, I'm assuming you mean my watch list. Do I always check the company, finance, and the news in Twitter and Yahoo? No. I go through my news feed. I go through the filings. It tells me everything I need to know. If I can't find any news, if I can't find a reason, yeah, I'll dig. I'll go to Twitter. Now, obviously, it's Twitter. You have to take everything with a grain of salt. Bunch of idiots. Most people in this space are just complete idiots, and that's a fact. Who just run their mouth on Twitter because they want to. And StockTwits is worse. I haven't opened StockTwits in months. Bunch of idiots arguing about like the fundamentals of the shittiest companies in the world. You know, and their pipelines and whatever else. Talking about investing in these companies. They're not investments. These companies are not investments. And after watching hundreds and thousands of tickers spike and fail, I can tell you there's been such a minute handful that if you're a day trader, you know, you will understand that eventually. These are not investments. You are a trader. So don't give a shit about what the PR is. Only use it for your trading purposes. And early on, I got caught up in that. You know, I would see some press releases that I was like, holy shit, like I should invest long-term in this company. And then you know, you see what happens. I have never had one ticker I've seen where I'm like, this needs to be a long-term hold, and then done it because, you know, they do offerings and shit. So, excuse my French. Hope you guys don't mind. I don't cuss too much, but. Is there a dollar volume indicator on E-Trade Pro? Good question. I'm not sure. Does anyone know? I thought there were. I think there is, but there may not be. I'm pretty sure there is, actually. So I haven't gotten any trades in this morning. That's fine. It's not a big deal to me. What's my dip buy process? When do I choose to open a position? For example, level 2, how do I know is at the bottom? What do you see in level 2 that makes me enter a position? Level 2 obviously has to do with the bid. If I see someone at a very important level, soaking size, that's important to me. If I see perhaps a large offer come near that level of support, but it doesn't move the stock down, generally that can be a good buy indicator, believe it or not. It may be someone literally just trying to fill a larger position at resistance, or at support. It's a case-by-case basis. Level 2 is also not an exact science. Level 2, especially with NASDAQs, at times can be unreliable, okay? So level 2 is very important. It's very, very, very important. Tape reading, very important. Do I put everything into it? No. OTCs, there are times where I'm trading literally level 2 and I'm not even watching the chart. It can be that clean if there's volume on OTCs, which we'll get into level 2. So IGC is pushing high day. Yeah, so apparently there is dollar volume on eTrade Pro, so that's cool. I just don't use it anymore. I don't use eTrade Pro anymore. And for you guys who are having issues with the stream, we'll get it. I'll get it resolved this week. It's an internet thing here too. Some of you don't have the issues, some of you do, but I know the stream itself. There are issues with the stream, so it will be sorted out here. So we're gonna wrap up 10 more minutes here, and then we'll wrap this up. I'm not really planning on trading IGC. For me, this was a morning dip buy, and I missed it. You know, I'm not too comfortable buying this up here. Not with 2 overhead especially, which is much, much longer term resistance, but it's there still. Can I explain warrants, how they affect us if you're in a trade? What happens when warrants expire? How can it affect us in a position and expire? If they expire, they're worthless. They mean nothing, so you don't have to worry about it. If you are above, sorry, 1 second. If a stock has warrants and it's above the exercise price, it means you can be diluted on. Shares may be dumped on you at any time, which means I don't want to be there long, period. Do I miss moves because I don't trade stocks that have, you know, a crap ton of overhead warrants? Yes, I do. Does that bother me? No, it doesn't. I'm at a point, and it took a while for that to happen too. FOMO's a bitch, man. And FOMO's purely psychological. That's in your head, okay? It has nothing to do with facts or anything. It's just a pure psychological and emotional issue that you have to get over. If there are warrants overhead, I don't trade it. It rips. I don't give a shit, okay? Like, that's the attitude you have to have. Who cares? You are still doing the smart thing, which is protecting yourself, right? Very important. What are some good videos or websites to learn some stuff about reading them, what to look for, etc.? I mean, to be honest, like there's not too much out there that I've found about the filings. I'm sure you can find books about filings and fundamentals and stuff, but for me, it was just a matter of going through them over and over and over again. That's it. The more times you actually just go through them, the better. Now, I understand 10Qs are daunting. You don't have to get into every single detail on a 10Q. Like I said, Control F for warrants, Control F for offering, Control F for financing, Control F for at the market offerings. And then go through the basic numbers. You know, do they have any revenue? Do they have cash? Is their cash reserve dwindling quickly? Are they diluting? All that stuff's in the filings. And we will, and I promise you, we'll go over it over and over and over again, and it'll get easier. But you just have to start digging for yourself. You just have to start digging. It's an experience thing for sure. Like I watched Michael Good's SEC filing video over at Profitly, and I mean, it helped me, but a lot of that stuff I don't use. Most of it is, you know, I'm not trying to sit there for 5 hours, you know, when I'm trying to find a long position and go through filings. I need it to be quick. A lot of these moves are quick. I need to know quickly, is there, for what I'm looking for, which are warrants and potential financings. Like that's what I need to know. Do I recommend watching the SEC filings DVD? Yeah. If you have it, you know, or if you want to get it, it's not bad. There's a lot of good information in there. Even if you just take a little bit from it, it'll help you. It's just so boring. Took me a while to get through it. How will you have access to the webinars? They'll be posted in the Discord chat and pinned until they are eventually moved to my website, and until the webinars are eventually moved to the website, which shouldn't be too much longer. Quickest way to check for dilution? Honestly, the filings. It's the only way I know of. Yeah, Bass, I have my website. There's just the back room is being developed right now so that we can be on there. And I can actually have, you know, I want this to be much more organized. So eventually the set schedule will be much more set. The videos will all be available for playback on the website, along with the DVD. And I'm toying with the chat. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the chat yet. You know, I got a couple groups now. I'm trying to keep it very personal for you guys. So it's I don't know. You know, like I said, this is a pilot test. So this is going to be we're going to modify things if we need more people or less people, whatever it is. I'll make sure service is provided. You guys won't miss anything. But yeah, we'll be on the website eventually. It's just whether or not we're going to move the chat to the website or keep the Discord. I like the Discord chat. I really do. I like the app. I like everything about it. There are actually a lot of services who are just using Discord or Twitch now. Like MIC, the Modern Rock, and AT09, they're literally using Twitch, which is very similar to Discord. Yeah, and the webinars will eventually be off YouTube. Like like I said, this is temporary. So any glitches or anything going on will be temporary while this is being developed. Would I say CVSI is basing here? Yeah, I mean, it's a change from its prior action. You know, it's kind of consolidating. But this is also, for me, consolidation near its lows. So, I mean, we'll see how this plays out. I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 hold and we get a green day tomorrow. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see market makers just, F with everyone and bring it back under 3. So, who knows? I'm not going to preemptively midday buy this for now. Tell us about the dynamic. What are my expectations? What do I expect you to do? What are my goals in year 1, 2, 3? Yeah, so my expectations are just that you guys work your asses off. I mean, I can't do anything for you, obviously. And if you guys don't want to put the work in, that's totally up to you. You won't get the results. So just have an open mind, man. Work with me. I'm going to try to work with you guys. That, all I expect is that you guys are respectful to each other. Everyone try to help each other. And that's it. I'm hoping 1 or 2 of you make it. That's it. That's all I want. Obviously, if there are more of you who end up having success, that would be awesome. But I have to be realistic, and the fact is most of you won't. But at a minimum, I'm hoping all of you know how to go through filings, by the end of this year. Hopefully by December, you're able to go through filings. You're able to discern, good daily charts from bad daily charts. See some of the setups at least, start catching moves. That type of thing. We'll see. It's going to be fluid. We'll see what happens here in the future. But I'm completely committed to trying to help you guys. So, yeah. Julia thinks the size of the group's big. 20 is perfect. In this group, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think my only issue with a really tiny group is people. If I don't know, it's just one of those things that's I don't ever want to. If I ever have a chat with 1,000 people, it's not going to be like this. It won't be webinars and like personal service. You know what I mean? But yeah. Either way, in terms of this type of service, when it's a small group, it's not going to be, if the group grows, it's not going to grow huge. I'm not going to at any point have this group be huge because that's unmanageable. But that being said, I have some good trader buddies, and if this does grow at all, it will be helpful to have some really good traders in here. I promise you that. I'm not going to be able to be in the chat all day. Recorded webinars will be posted in the Discord chat and pinned at the top. For now. Like I said, for now. I have my guys, they are going to be archiving them and getting them ready to be on the website in the members section for you guys. They're not going to be made available to everyone, you know, just this group. Any more questions? We've got to wrap this one up today. Do I think we could have a webinar exclusive reading the tape level 2 so we can fully understand it? Yeah, man, we're going to do that a lot. Maybe we'll do an exclusive one just on level 2 and whatnot, but for the there and look, there's CVSI under $3. And it keeps going, so that's crazy. Yeah. But in the future, we're going to be doing a lot of it every day. So it's not, I promise you, it's not one webinar that's just going to, like, you know, solve level 2 for you. It's going to be a whole bunch of experience watching it every single day, all day. There's nothing that I can tell you that's going to decode level 2 for you, period. I can give you tidbits, but it's going to come down to experience, level 2's experience thing. Same with all the trading. There's no one webinar that's, I mean, you will have aha moments, hopefully. And a lot of them, you know, there's going to be a lot of information I'm giving you that took me a long time digging through so much crap to find of what's relevant and what's not relevant to trading, particularly penny stocks. But then you're just going to have to see it for yourself over and over and over. You're going to have to lose over and over and over. Still, me to this day. Yesterday I traded like shit, you know. I made 5K on Monday. I had 2 great solid trades. And yesterday I traded like shit. And it led me to today going back to my principles that keep me successful and safe. So, you know, those days like yesterday for me are fewer and far between now. But they still happen. But at least I'm aware of what I was doing. You know, it's once you get to that point where you know exactly what you're doing wrong and you just broke your rules, that's a great place to be. It's just getting there. You know, at first, especially for a while, you don't know, you have no clue what you're doing and you don't know why you lost. Well, I know why I lost yesterday. I bought a high day break, got spooked out into the pool on ATAI. So it was a setup I don't play, and I played it, and it screwed me. On AFMD, it's not really my wheelhouse, those big floats and the 5-cent stocks. And it wasn't my wheelhouse, and I got spooked out and missed $2 a share, $3 a share. So if you're in this room thinking that there's, you know, I'm going to make you profitable, okay, then you should leave, because I am not personally going to make you profitable. I can only help guide you. It all comes down to experience. It all comes down to experience. Nothing I can tell you is necessarily going to stick until you see it and do it yourself 1,000 times. So when I say screen time is important, I spent upwards of 17 hours a day last year for a long period of time watching this fucking screen. Okay? Watching it. Your best lessons will be your losses, you know? That's a fact. Just don't let them wipe you out. Be safe. How many webinars a week? 1 to 2. It just depends. Like I said, I have a couple groups now. I have, you know, a private group that I've been mentoring for a little while. And now we have this group. So this is why I'm toying, you know, with the idea of I think at least I'm going to keep that chat separate for those guys. They're a tight knit group of guys and gals. But in terms of webinars, I may just combine the groups and do webinars together. Then everyone can have, some more webinars. The problem is if I split webinars up, like if I'm doing a webinar for one group and nailing trades and we have some really productive stuff, well, all of you should really be seeing that. You can all learn from it. So. All right, guys, we're wrapping up for today. I will post the link to this webinar. It will be pinned at the top of the Discord chat. Yeah, and that's it. If you guys ever have questions that you really need answered personally and I'm not in the chat or something, DM me on Discord and I'll eventually answer you. I'm on here most of the day. So everyone have a good one. Be safe. Actually, here, let's do a quick recap so you kind of know what my thoughts are going into the afternoon. IGC, I like. I don't feel like chasing it. We'll see how it reacts to $2 because it is getting up there now. We'll get a high day break again. Come on now. IGC, strongest for me at this point. IPAS. It may perk and pop, I don't care. SPHS, probably dead to me. I haven't been planning on trading it anyways. ARCI popped this morning, and now it's just dead. Reeks of chat pump. This reeks of chat pump to me. AFMD, hanging in there. Solid uptrend, could go into day 3. I'll probably ignore it. And that's it, guys. At this point, I'm not trading, okay? Period. Going at the end of last year, I went through all of 2017's trades, my trade data, and a large percentage of my losses came midday. An overwhelming percentage of my losses came midday. So I cut that out. Simple as that. And that's why you track trades. Find your times a day that suck, where you shouldn't be trading. Find the setups that you don't win at. Find the ones you do win at, and then focus there, okay? And we'll get into trade tracking here like the next couple webinars. It's important. Do I do spreadsheets? Could I show us how to do it correctly? Yeah, I do spreadsheets. I'm not like ducks and have a million spreadsheets. For me, it's really simple, Any spread, as long as you're tracking your trades, and what I mean by that is date, ticker, time of day, price, entry, exit, catalyst, and then just a quick blurb on your trade, why, what the setup is. And then, when I'm actively trade tracking, I'm just put notes on each one. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? It's that simple. That's just a very basic sheet that you can eventually go back on and look at, but we will go through spreadsheets too. Last question, when do I consider midday to be over? That would be, for me, like 11, so 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm personally not really looking to trade until power hour for the most part, unless something's setting up great. And that's it, guys. We will catch you in chat. Like I said, it's a pilot group, so you guys got to be flexible with me. If anyone ever has any issues with what I'm doing with the chat, or if we're adding people or whatever, just let me know. And if the issues are enough, then I'll refund you and you can leave. You know what I mean? I'm only going to do what's best for the group. I'm not going to jeopardize, anyone in the group for anything. That being said, if I feel like we will all benefit more together, or there are, some dedicated or good traders that I know who want to join us, I'm not going to stop it, unless, there's a good reason why. So you guys won't be diluted, majorly. If there is any dilution taking place in the chat, it'll be minor and it'll be beneficial in the end. More people, more questions, better traders, better questions. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this. Eventually I may do a chat, like just a regular chat, and not alerts, but I'll do watch lists and whatever, and they can be in the chat if they want. But that will not include what we're doing here. This will always be a smaller group. So best way to provide feedback for me, Discord. DM me on Discord. All right. All right, guys, that's it. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, obviously the price you guys paid to be in this, it's not, I understand it's not a small amount of money, but it's also not, in terms of the space, it is much smaller. It's a third or less of what any of the good traders are charging for a service like this. It's extremely time consuming. It's a lot of work. It takes my attention away from purely trading, which is what I love to do. And so in a way, although I'm being paid for this, it is also going to take away from gains at times for me. It's not, this isn't, it's not light work, and I'm not taking it cavalierly at all. This is, like I said, it's very time consuming. I believe the price is very fair. That being said, if we expand the group in the future, they will be paying much more for this service, okay? So if anyone is added to the service, it's going to be much, much more expensive. So regardless, you guys are grandfathered in, and I think we're going to have a really good thing going here. So just bear with me. If you have feedback, DM me, okay? And we can chat about it. But just understand, like I said, it's a test group. And I want it to work out really well, okay? So that's why I didn't just open this group up to 100 people off the bat. No worries, Brandon. Have a good one, man. All right, that's it for today. Catch you guys in chat. The schedule I'm going to nail down much better, and I will have it posted under weekly schedule. I am going to start doing watch lists, weekly watch lists, nightly watch lists. And I will post that under the watch list section and the text channel, so you guys have that as well. If I do trade recaps or something like that, I'll put them on there as well, or I'll make a trade recap section possibly. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good one today. Let's be safe going into midday, and I'll catch you guys in chat going into the afternoon. I'm about to start working on the DVD.